Joining us this morning, as you can see on your TV screens, is Joe Hansen. Good morning, Joe Hansen.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Olive. Good morning, Osauge. And great conversation there with the Zimbabwe presidential aspirant, if I put it that way.
Absolutely.
But the stories indeed are interesting when we talk about them in Africa. I think it's our time we also take a look at what's happening outside of the continent. And that's exactly what we're about to do here this morning.
Thank you. So take it away.
All right. We'll start off first in America. Now, there are advisories as forecasters warn of dangerously hot conditions over the next 24 hours. So we're here in Africa, particularly in Nigeria. We are having a great time, I could say, because the weather conditions are indeed suitable. But numerous records are indeed stating that they are high. Yes, high forecast to be tied and or broken in today. In the northeast, the National Weather Service said in a bulletin of the heat wave that is expected to last through Tuesday. Now, taking humidity into account, the bulletin said that the mercury could hit 105 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. An excessive heat warning was issued for large swaths of Pennsylvania, Delaware, and of course New Jersey. The bulletin also said the extreme heat and humidity will significantly increase the potential for heat-related illnesses, particularly for those working or participating in outdoor activities. According to the National Weather Service, there has already been one heat-related death in New York as we speak. Now, the city's chief medical examiner said hypertensive, cardiovascular disease and pulmonary emphysema listed as the contributing conditions. No other details about the victim were made immediately available. So what we're trying to say here is indeed there is a major heat wave situation, not just in the United Kingdom this time, but also in the United States of America. Those states have been mentioned, talk about Delaware, New York and the likes. And if you do recall, just 2 weeks ago, the United Kingdom indeed was faced with a similar warning, and then it became something that a lot of the residences or many residences were actually faced with, either surviving or looking for a way out of it. And this has been attributed to green emissions as well. But we'll talk about more stories and updates concerning that. So over there in the United Kingdom and also in America, it's about the heat wave. Climate change is becoming a problem. Well, let's leave that and go straight to another story outside of Africa. Let's talk about Pope Francis. Now, he departed Rome on Sunday for a week-long trip to Edmonton, Canada, where he's set to apologize for the Catholic Church's role in the abuse of Canadian Indigenous children in residential schools. The Vatican has called the trip a penitential pilgrimage. While in the country, he will meet with Indigenous groups and address the scandal of abuse and erasure of Indigenous culture in the country's residential schools. Indigenous leaders have long called for a papal apology for the harm inflicted for decades on Indigenous children. Last year, hundreds of unmarked graves were discovered on the grounds of former residential schools in British Columbia and Saskatchewan. Well, Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission has reported that more than 4,000 Indigenous children died either from neglect or abuse in residential schools, many of which were run by the Catholic Church. In April, the Pope told the Indigenous leaders at the Vatican that he feels sorrow and shame for the role that a number of Catholics, particularly those with educational responsibilities, have had in all these things that wounded you, he said, in the abuses you suffered and in the lack of respect shown for your identity, your culture, and even your spiritual values. So it's one thing that everyone is indeed looking forward to see and also follow up. Don't forget, the president as well, Trudeau, is looking forward to sit with the Pope and have more conversations on this. It was reported here on News Central too that these graves were graves that were all of a sudden discovered. Over 4,000 children. Now, some of these children died as a result of depression, not wanting to be listened to, not wanting to be believed, especially when they called and screamed out that they have been abused by some of the members of the Catholic school mission. But nobody answered them. And now the Pope is saying it is time to offer a papal apology. And that's why he is indeed making this trip. So these are some of the latest stories coming out from outside of the continent of Africa. And we hope that very soon those who are struggling with a heat wave will have a measure of relief. And also we look forward to see what the Pope's decision to make that move to Canada will definitely accomplish.
I don't know. It's an apology really enough? And do we have apologies, for one side and then prosecution for another side? I don't know. I'm not sure if this really will be good enough, for the Catholic Church. I
Well, maybe it's
understand
a
the Pope
first
is doing
step,
what he.
because for the most part, we've had a lot of people ignoring and denying like these things happened. A lot of people in these religious spheres of leadership were looked upon as semi-deities in some form and untouchable whilst they were perpetrating these hideous acts. So I think it's a first step. This papal apology that's coming from the Pope, I think it's a first step, and at least in some way it might help with the healing process.
Hopefully it does. Don't forget that many have called for this apology for quite some time now. And the Pope has taken it upon himself to say, you know what, if nobody's going to do it, I'm going to do it. And that's why he's taking that trip down to Canada. Hopefully, parents who have lost their children and those who are currently affected will start to see changes. And this also calls for a change in the way education is being administered, especially when it comes to the teachers and those who, in quotes, belong to the Catholic mission.
Oh, well, really sad. Well, thanks very much, Joe. Very interesting seeing these stories. And of course, just seeing what's going on outside the continent.
Especially the heat.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, the heat wave. I mean, we're cooling off here in Nigeria.
But that's something that is coming to us if we're not careful.
We know when it starts. It's kind of windy here in the evenings. I don't know if you understand, if you feel that as well.
It did seem like it was going to rain really heavily over the weekend, but it still didn't.
Yeah, we're having extreme weather conditions. These are the effects of climate change. We're seeing receding glaciers in Iceland. It's something that will continue if something isn't done urgently.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
All right.